Hey, it's Jackson with Happiness Means Business, back with another science-based tool to help you be happier in work and life. And this video is all about happier time management or work-life balance. And maybe not even work-life balance. I don't love to use that term because it feels almost like there should be this like those old-fashioned scales where you put something in one side and it sort of falls over, and then you put something on the other side and it levels out, like this perfect balance is probably not realistic for 90% of us. But we could talk about maybe work-life integration or work-life harmony or work-life happiness, and I think this tool is going to help you do that. So it starts with a fundamental question, and it's saying like, is all time equal? Is all time equal? So let me ask you a question. If I could give you 5 hours or 4 hours of vacation time, and I'm going to give you a choice, you can take it Tuesday morning from, let's say, 8 a.m. to noon, or you can take it from Friday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Which are you going to choose? Right, probably Friday. So not all time is created equal. Well, why'd you give that answer? Well, it's probably because you're thinking, yeah, Tuesday morning, there's not a lot going on. What the hell am I going to do from 8 a.m. to noon? I go to breakfast alone? But Friday, everyone's doing everything. There's so many options. So, important point to think about there first is not all time is created equal. And not all time then is created equal when it comes to your personal renewal or your sort of life satisfaction outside of work. And so this is where our tool comes in. It's based on some really good research from the University of Hamburg, from Gollwitzer and Oettingen, as well as drawing on some work from Cal Newport, who's a professor of computer science at Georgetown University. And what they emphasize are the idea of time blocking, as Cal Newport, and implementation intention, which is Gollwitzer and Oettingen. And implementation intention is really interesting. So they did a study where they looked at women and they had them do a breast cancer self-examination, which is a really important exam women do to check for cancer or potential like lumps or tumors. They had one group of women, they just said, hey, this is really important, you need to do this. And then they had a second group where they said, hey, this is really important, you need to do this, and would you just tell us when and where you're going to do it? And that group where they asked them to set an intention for when they were going to implement it had, I think, double or triple the follow-through and compliance. So I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? If we just say when and where we're going to do something, we're way more likely to actually do it. And that kind of makes intuitive sense, but often you think you run into someone, an old friend, and you're like, oh yeah, we should catch up soon, and then what happens? Usually doesn't. So one piece is implementation intention, the other piece is time blocking, which very similar, you literally take that intention and block it in your calendar or your planner or whatever system you use. So when you put those together with what I said earlier about not all time being created equal, you get the idea of what I call sacred hours. And it's a small, really easy to implement intervention that I think can help you drastically improve your kind of work-life satisfaction. So it goes like this. You're going to think about, well, what are these periods of time that have a disproportionate high impact on my happiness, my personal, my renewal, my life outside of work. So maybe it's, my kids' soccer games or my kids' sports practice or having a date night with my partner 2 nights a week, or each day if I can just get my 20-minute little meditation in, or 5 days a week I have this workout class I love, whatever it is. Try to think about something small that you can carve out either each day that would be 30 minutes or less, or each week that ideally would just be a couple hours. And what you want to think about there is, again, what are those areas, those units of time that really have a disproportionate impact? So I'll give an example of that. We worked with someone on this who was in the military, who was a full-time police officer, also commanding a battalion of several hundred people. And he was like, dude, I'm getting burnt out, man. Like, this is crazy. I work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we started to talk about this, and he said, well, there is this nice time that usually I'm not home for it, but from like 6:30 at night to 7:30, the kids have all got done with practice and they're all home. The wife is done with work and she's ready to go. And we have this little pocket where we're all kind of crossing paths and eating dinner and spending time together. It's like, I would love to be home for that. So, well, how can we make this happen? Because unfortunately, while I have a lot of tricks, I don't have a magic wand that I can just say, hey, you're going to do less work. He said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to my peers. I'm going to talk to my supervisor. I'll talk to the people I supervise. And I'm going to say, hey, I want you guys to try to support me on this. I'm going to be out of the office each day by 6 so that I can get home at 6:30. I'm going to be free, sacred hours, time blocked. You can't get to me from 6:30 to 7:30. And then I'll happily get back on, log on from home and take care of a lot of my administrative stuff. So he said, okay, well, we'll try that. And after 2 or 3 weeks, he came back and said, this has just been amazing. Like, I feel so much more balanced and so much more connected to my kids, my wife. Everything at home got way better. And so again, it wasn't this perfect sliding scale of work-life balance, but it was intentionally creating time and spaciousness for the activities that matter most. So when you have this idea of a sacred hour, that's what it means. It's sacred. Sacred to yourself. You are setting a date or an appointment with yourself. Imagine if your significant other, you had a dinner date and they don't show up. It's 1 minute later. How do you feel? Well, if you said you're already frustrated, then maybe you need to relax a little bit. But 30 minutes goes by. What happened? Well, you start to worry. It's like, oh, what's going on? An hour goes by. How do you feel? You're probably full and pissed because you ate dinner and they're still not there. But what happens when you make an appointment with yourself and you don't show up for yourself? We do that a lot, don't we? And so the idea of a sacred hour is it's not only sacred to the outside world, that they're not going to overwhelm or sort of crowd in and push out your spaciousness for that time, but it's also sacred to yourself that you follow through on it. So I would challenge you to think about that time blocking and that implementation intention that we said is based on a lot of research that shows that that helps a lot with compliance or actually sticking to it. And try to carve out, again, it can be daily or weekly, what would that sacred hour or sacred hours or even sacred minutes be that would really have a disproportionate impact on kind of your personal renewal and kind of bringing up the life side of this work-life equation. So I hope that that short intervention, drawing on a little bit of the science of kind of behavioral psychology and compliance, is helpful and something you can use on yourself to ultimately have a little bit of a happier time management, is the phrase we often use. So hope you enjoyed this video. As always, you can subscribe, follow, do whatever, reach out if you want more resources on the science of happiness and human flourishing. But if not, I'll just see you in the next video.